The biggest and best football clubs tend to have the biggest and best academies. Barcelona, Ajax, and Sporting Club de Portugal, who have three of the best academies in all of world football, are three of the biggest clubs in Europe, and three of the most dominant in their domestic leagues. It makes perfect sense. The biggest clubs tend to have the biggest budgets, the widest scouting networks, the best facilities, and the finest coaches. And yet, persistently, there are still some football clubs who massively punch above their weight when it comes to churning out brilliant young players. Crewe Alexandra, who compete in League 2, the fourth tier of English football, are one club that immediately spring to mind, having nurtured future England internationals like Rob Jones, Danny Murphy and Dean Ashton, albeit their academy has since been in the news for less admirable reasons. That got me thinking though, are there 7 bang average football clubs who have genuinely elite level academies? Who are they? And what is the reason for their extraordinary youth team success? I'm not including amateur or purpose-built academies who have no professional senior team like Clairefontaine in France or the Right to Dream Academy in Ghana, since they are something quite different, and my definition of average is far from definitive. Anyone who is among the top teams within their domestic leagues, so even a club like ASEC Mimosa, where the likes of Gervinho, Solomon Kalou, Kolo Touré and Yaya Touré began their careers cannot feature, by virtue of being the most successful Ivorian football club. And even those who aren't among their domestic elite but are still very obviously good clubs like Villarreal, Atalanta and Rennes are far too good to feature. Hopefully, as we go through, you will consider my inclusions to be suitably average, so without further ado, here are 7 average football clubs with absolutely amazing academies. 7th, FC Sochaux-Montbéliard. When it comes to producing brilliant footballers at this moment in time, it makes sense to start in France. The likes of Lyon, Rennes and PSG have among the finest academy systems on the planet, but there is a slightly more modest French outfit who play one step further down the French Football League pyramid with an output that can rival the best of them. FC Sochaux-Montbéliard, better known as FC SM or just Sochaux, currently compete in Ligue 2, but they were actually founding members of Ligue 1 4 years after they were founded by Jean-Pierre Peugeot, who was the father of the Peugeot family, which is today known for its automobile manufacturing. Despite being reduced to the status of average by this idiot, for the purposes of this 7, Sochaux have twice been crowned as the champions of French football, both times during the 1930s, before the outbreak of World War II. Since that significant scuffle, Sochaux have enjoyed rather less success within the senior game, though they did still manage to win a Coupe de France title in 2007, after beating Marseille on penalties in the final. Despite not having played any Ligue 1 football since 2014, Sochaux has maintained its proud tradition of helping to nurture some outstanding young players. In previous generations, French internationals like Yannick Stopra, Bernard Genghini, Benoit Pedretti, and Jérémy Ménez have all come through the Sochaux youth ranks, in addition to Senegal's 2002 World Cup hero, El Hadji Diouf. More recently, Sochaux have given the world Wolfsburg defender Maxence Lacroix, Borussia Mönchengladbach striker Marcus Thuram, and Liverpool centre-back Ibrahima Konate, and many others, from Cedric Bakambu to Ivan Perisic and Jeremy Mathieu in between. That ain't half bad for a second-tier football club, but keep an eye on Sochaux this season, who currently top the Ligue 2 table, unsurprisingly, with a couple of gems from their academy starring in their, yes, by comparison, rather average first team. 6th, Envigado FC. A fascinating football club who really would be more than worthy of a video all of their own. Envigado FC were only founded in 1989 by Gustavo Adolfo Upegui Lopez, a close friend of Pablo Escobar's. At the height of cartel control within Colombia, Colombian football was awash with narco cash, including at the country's biggest clubs like Atlético Nacional, América de Cali, and Millonarios. It was seen not just as an excellent way in which to launder money, but also reputations. in an example of sports washing before sports washing was even a word, and it worked a treat. However dirty the cash was, the quality of Colombian football increased sharply as a result of that investment, culminating in Atlético Nacional winning the Copa Libertadores in 1989 and Colombia's national team reaching the World Cup knockout stages in their first final since 1962 at Italia 90. Envigado FC also enjoyed significant success themselves, becoming the first Colombian side to win promotion to the Categoria Primera A in 1991, where they spent the next 15 seasons. In the same year that Envigado were relegated for the first time, in 2006, their owner Gustavo Adolfo Peggy was captured, tortured, and then murdered, allegedly by members of the Office of Envigado Cartel. Gustavo's son Juan Pablo was the man to replace him, but unfortunately for him, Envigado's alleged links to organised crime had seen the club added to the United States' Clinton list, which imposed extremely strict sanctions on the club, effectively banning them from receiving any sponsorship income. As such, Envigado had little other option than to turn to their youth ranks and focus all of their attention there. The gems that they have since unearthed have been quite remarkable. From the golden boy of Colombian football and 2014 Golden Boot winner at the World Cup, James Rodriguez, to the likes of Freddy Guarin, Juan Quintero, Hyun Cordoba, and Matias Uribe. For a football club that have never been crowned as Colombian champions, who are currently 13th in the Categoria Primera A, and are based in a small town of little more than 200,000 people, which is perhaps best known for being the location in which Pablo Escobar built his famously luxurious private prison, Envigado's output is absolutely remarkable. The club's academy facilities are far from the finest, and Envigado credit most of their success to their willingness to give young players a chance. James Rodriguez, for example, made his senior debut at the age of just 14, making him one of the youngest first-team footballers of all time anywhere in the world, before being sold to Banfield in Argentina at the age of 17. Ultimately, that has been the issue for Envigado. Despite being one of the finest talent factories anywhere in the world, rarely do they keep their best youngsters beyond their teenage years. They will hope to change that and to compete again now, having only been removed from the Clinton list in 2018. Fifth, Southampton. There may be a perception that Southampton's academy has perhaps just dried up a little over the last few years, but their consistency and the sheer star power that they have nurtured over the years is quite frankly frightening. Southampton have always prided themselves on their youth development. Many moons ago, future England internationals like Wayne Bridge, Dennis Wise, Kevin Phillips, Matt Le Tissier and Alan Shearer all came through the Saints' youth ranks. But it was actually the demise of the Southampton first team, who were relegated from the Premier League to the Championship in 2005, and then down to League One in 2009, that really seemed to pave the way for an academy revolution on the South Coast. Following relegation in 2005, Theo Walcott became a breakout star for the Saints in the Championship, making England's 2006 World Cup squad and joining Arsenal at the age of 17. The following year, another young starlet named Gareth Bale began to tear up the division with his incredible pace and dynamism, before departing for Tottenham Hotspur. The likes of Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and particularly Adam Lallana, then played a key role in Southampton's revival, soon joined by the likes of Luke Shaw, Harrison Reed, Matt Targett, and Callum Chambers. Southampton's academy is brilliantly run, their facilities are outstanding, and they have a series of satellite academy centres based in the likes of Bath and West London that also serve their main hub of around 200 players at Staplewood. Matt Hale, Southampton's academy director, aims for 50% of Southampton's first team to be graduates of the club's youth ranks, an outrageous target by Premier League standards, which even Southampton haven't been able to attain, but it is a sign of their ambition, and they come closer than just about anyone else. Southampton's current main man and club captain James Ward-Prowse is among the club's finest academy graduates, and indeed finest ever players, and he is joined in the current squad by Ollie Lancashire, Ryan Finnegan and Tom Bollard, plus a whole host of Southampton Academy graduates who are currently starring on loan in the EFL. In terms of Southampton's average credentials, they have finished between 11th and 17th in the Premier League for the last 5 seasons on the bounce, which was good enough for me. 4th, NK Lokomotiva Zagreb. For a country of just 4 million people, the talent that Croatian football has given the world, particularly over the last couple of decades, has been sensational. That is why Croatia have qualified for all but one of the last 6 FIFA World Cup finals, reaching the semi-finals in 1998 and the final of the most recent World Cup in 2018. The country's finest talent factories can be found at Dinamo Zagreb, where Luka Modric, Niko Kranjčar, and Robert Prosinecki all made their names, and at Hajduk Split, Dinamo's great rivals, where the likes of Nikola Vlasic and Mario Pasalic recently honed their skills as youngsters. Dinamo and Hajduk are Croatia's 2 most successful senior teams as well, but there is a third, far less well-known, great Croatian institution when it comes to nurturing fantastic young footballers, namely NK Lokomotiva Zagreb. Founded in 1914, Lokomotiva's greatest success came during the 1950s, when they once finished 3rd in the Yugoslav First League. After Croatia gained independence though, Lokomotiva found themselves primarily playing 3rd-tier football, and in 2006, they dropped down into the 4th tier, a new low for the club. That summer, Lokomotiva partnered with Dinamo Zagreb, utilising their outstanding academy to become Dinamo's feeder club. That kick-started the fastest rise in the entire history of Croatian football, as Lokomotiva instantly won 3 successive promotions, climbing all the way up to the HNL, Croatia's top flight. That meant that they had to sever their ties with Dinamo due to league rules, but they have nonetheless managed to establish themselves as a really competitive side in Croatia's top flight, twice even finishing as top flight runners-up in 2013 and in 2020. That has been made possible thanks to Lokomotiva's incredible academy, whose alumni includes the likes of teenage striker Roko Simic, who is now being heralded as the next big thing at Red Bull Salzburg, 23-year-old Dinamo Zagreb and Croatia star Luka Ivanusic, who was recently linked with a move to Leeds United, and 24-year-old Ren number 10 and fellow Croatian international Lovro Majer. 3rd, Espanyol. Forgive me for my ignorance, and I know that is a demand that I make of you all far too often, but before researching this video, I had no idea just how impressive Espanyol's academy, or Cantera, really is. The Barcelona-based La Liga side, who were relegated to the Segunda Division during the pandemic in 2020, but bounced back at the first attempt, have an academy that is comfortably among the finest in all of Spanish football. There is steep competition on that front, from the likes of Real Madrid, Athletic Bilbao, and perhaps most notably of all their Barcelona-based rivals FC Barcelona, but former Espanyol Academy players include the likes of Gerard Moreno, Christian Teo, Marc Bartra, Marc Cucurella, Johan Jordan, Sergi Dada, Marc Roca, Eric Bailly, Pau Lopez, Oriol Romeu, and recent Manchester City signing Sergio Gomez. Not all of those players, including Gomez, spent their entire U-team careers in Espanyol's Cantera system, but all were, at least in part, nurtured by the club, and some went all the way through to the first team. I think that is really rather remarkable, especially for a club that hasn't finished higher than 7th in La Liga since 2005, hasn't finished higher than 4th since 1987, and has never won a La Liga title. Espanyol have won the Copa del Rey on 4 occasions, and they currently find themselves in 17th place, just 6 games into the current campaign, so I do think that they are fair game for the average tag, and they undoubtedly have one hell of an academy. 2nd, AZ Alkmaar. I probably had more doubts about branding AZ Alkmaar as being average than any other team in this 7, and that is because they have won the Eredivisie twice, most recently in 2009, which is hardly ancient history, and they have consistently been really competitive in the top flight of Dutch football for most of the last decade. AZ were Eredivisie runners-up in 2020, they finished 3rd in 2021, 5th last season, and they are currently 3rd in the Eredivisie table, just 7 games into this current season. You can see why I was caught in 2 minds then, but ultimately, whilst they have been competitive, they haven't won very many trophies. And I figured that anyone outside of PSV, Ajax and Feyenoord ought to be fair game from the Netherlands, given that they would all most likely lose against Southampton and are probably about on par with Espanyol. Maybe you disagree, maybe average is harsh, and I am talking average in global, obviously, not domestic terms, they are excellent domestically, but that was my logic at least. What cannot be debated, surely, is that AZ's academy is remarkable, in terms of its innovation, attention to detail, and of course its end product. Constantly innovating techniques to measure and maximise their youth team players' physical and mental well-being, AZ are also the only club in the northwest Alkmaar municipality, giving them a decent-sized catchment area in which to recruit from, around 40 kilometres from the big boys of Ajax in Amsterdam. Above all else though, AZ often haven't had much cash and have therefore never been shy of giving their young players a chance. In fact, out of clubs in Europe's top leagues, only Athletic Bilbao consistently give more first-team opportunities to their own academy players. The end result is emphatic. AZ's academy graduates include stars such as Philip Cocu, Ron Vlaar, and Michael Bushkamolen in terms of now retired players, and the likes of Toon Miners, Owen Windel, Myron Baudu, and Calvin Stengs, all of whom are still very much active. First, IF Brommapojkarna. This 7 is in no particular order, but IF Brommapojkarna is a very worthy top spot, if for no other reason than the sheer obscurity and backstory behind them. Domestic football in Sweden is by no means among the best in Europe. UEFA's coefficient rankings place Swedish football 23rd within the federation, sandwiched between Cyprus and Israel. Yet IF Brommapojkarna, the team who top this 7, don't even compete in the top flight of Swedish football, at least this season, otherwise known as the Allsvenskan. No, IF Brommapojkarna, located in one of the most affluent suburbs of Stockholm, competed in the Superettan, the second tier of Swedish football, having won promotion from the third tier in 2021. They will compete in the Allsvenskan next season, however, having won back-to-back promotions, but as you can see here, Brommapojkarna have been a fairly volatile yo-yo club throughout most of the 2000s. Incredibly though, this little-known Swedish football club, who do well to attract a crowd of a couple of thousand fans to their home games, currently have over 60 former academy players playing professional football across Europe, including the likes of Ludwig Augustinsson, Christopher Nordfeldt, John Guidetti, Carl Starfelt, Victor Gyökeres, and Dejan Kulusevski. It is a truly freakish level of output, made possible because Brommapojkarna's academy is made up of 260 teams with over 4,000 players within their academy system. If you are wondering quite how an obscure Swedish football club manages to fund such an extravagant project, nurturing an incredible number of future Swedish internationals, the answer is neither as philanthropic nor as inspirational as you might have hoped. To get your kids into the Brommapojkarna Academy system, and to keep them there, is notoriously expensive. Fees of over €900 a year are not unusual, and one parent even reported that their child's 2 seasons with Brommapojkarna cost them €4,500. Parents joke that the better their children do at football, the more that it costs them financially. Both the cost of the club's academy and the supposedly toxic culture created by some parents and coaches alike were exposed in Sweden a few years ago, prompting some reforms, though keeping your child in the Brommapojkarna youth ranks still isn't cheap. That is it for today's video. Thank you all very much as ever for watching. I thoroughly hope that you enjoyed it. Hit the like button if that was the case, let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and make sure that you have notifications, and are subscribed first and foremost, to HITC Sevens. You can also find me on Twitter or on Instagram via the username @HITC Sevens on both, should you wish to do so.